Need a quick and easy garden setup? Well, I'm setting up 2 GreenStalks today, one with seeds, one with transplants. Let's see if I can get it done. So when you're filling up a GreenStalk vertical planter, you're going to start with soil. Typically what they recommend is a potting soil like Fox Farms, Happy Frog. They also recommend Pro Mix potting soil, and I think there's a couple other recommendations on their website. I have a ton of used soil from my previous GreenStalk, so I'm going to start with that, but I have to get this soil up to par. Right now it's very like sandy and very dry, and it probably has almost no nutrients because I've used this for over a year. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I have a little bucket of homemade compost here. I'm gonna throw that in. I also have another bin of used soil from my ginger and turmeric. Make sure you watch that video, but I'm gonna dump that in along with all the scraps. Next up, I am gonna add some Pro Mix. This is the garden mix. I can't find the potting mix in my area, and to get it shipped is ridiculous. It's expensive. This is my absolute favorite soil to use, but it tends to be a little pricey, right? So what I do is I usually take old soil, I mix this with the old soil, add some nutrients, and it works just perfectly. But if you can get the pink bag, which is the potting mix one, that one is perfect. I get this at Walmart and I pick it up. I don't have it shipped. Having this shipped, even from Walmart, is like super expensive. But usually if I go into the garden section and buy this, they almost always have sales. And even if they don't, the regular price is so much better than finding the price online. So let's get this open. And this stuff comes compressed, so it doesn't look like much right now, but once I get this all, you know, broken up, it's gonna be a significant amount of soil. And so this soil always reminds me of like a horse stable because it has that smell. It is organic, which is great, and it smells organic. So don't be off-put if it has a little bit of a scent to it. Also, don't freak out too much. I have seen it where I've opened them up and they have kind of mold on the soil. Fungal life is very normal for plants. Like, it's not like us. Like, mold for us isn't great. But mold for the plants, they love it, and it's healthy for them. It's part of their ecosystem, so it's not a bad thing. So don't freak out too much if you see that. I'm losing all kinds of shovels today in this thing. All right. You can see, you just kind of, like, look at this big piece, right? And you just push, and it breaks up. I think the compressed thing is like my favorite because like I can't carry those huge big bags. For one, they're awkward. Two, they're heavy. This one's heavy, but it's not as heavy because they dry it out so much. There is no moisture in this, which can be a problem if you're not focused on making sure that you get it nice and wet before you put plants in it, because it won't absorb water very well at first. So you're gonna have to work on that. But the fact that it's so dry makes it to where it's really easy to carry for us who maybe don't have as much strength. It's got a lot of perlite in there. I would definitely put perlite in this mix that we're about to do, but I guess I didn't have any. I thought I still had some, but nope. So instead of waiting, I'm not going to wait for perlite. This does have a little bit of perlite in it. And if you're not familiar with what perlite is just, I think it's, if I'm remembering, I get vermiculite and perlite mixed up, but I believe it's like volcanic rock. And it just helps with drainage. It helps drainage in the plants. So if you get too much water, like we do here in Florida with all the rain, it helps, that water get dispersed properly. Okay. I'm just going to kind of spread this out as I go. Since my soil has so much sand in it, I'm not really worried too much about its draining potential. I think it's going to drain just fine. And we've got several months until we make it into our rainy season. We're actually in our drought season right now. And so because of that, I kind of want it to hold on to a little bit more water than usual. So I think it's going to be just fine. If we were starting these during the summer, I probably would wait for some perlite to make sure it drains properly. Most likely I would use nothing but the potting soil mix because of the amount of rain that we get. The nutrients are going to kind of pour out of this thing pretty quickly, so I don't have to add as many nutrients. But we're starting in the drought season, which is awesome, which means it's going to hold a lot of nutrients and let them break down really well before the rain comes. This always reminds me of cooking, right? You're just adding this ingredient and that ingredient, but you don't have to get too hung up on this, guys. You just like have to think soil, nutrients, and something to help it drain. Perlite, vermiculite, sand, any of those help with drainage. So if you can get those 3 things, it should do just fine. But if you're brand new and you don't really want to play with this whole thing like I'm doing here, just get you a couple of those boxes or those bags of Pro Mix. It'll be perfect. All right, I got it mostly broken up. Now let me show you the next step. So the next step is we're going to be adding nutrients. This is a fertilizer called Nutri-Rich. I get it from Azure Standard. I think it's really great. It's basically composted chicken manure. It's really inexpensive. Like if you want to find a really cheap fertilizer or granular fertilizer, yeah, I'd go with this one. You do have to order it from Azure Standard and go through their whole pickup process, but I buy like a 50-pound bag. I think it is. Was it 30, 50-pound bag? It's a big bag. And I use it on stuff like this. So this is going to take, this hopefully is going to fill 2 GreenStalks. If not, I'm in trouble. And I'm just going to sprinkle that all over. Basically, I think this is equal to about 2 cups of fertilizer. Now we're just gonna rake that all in. We wanna get the fertilizer, the compost, the sandy dirt, the Pro Mix, all mixed together. So I'm going to start with the original GreenStalk size first. I also have a leaf that I want to do today. I'm just going to kind of position them. I put a lot of the stuff that had debris, like the old ginger and turmeric stuff, in the bottom here. And then I'm going to use this side, which has a little less of that material, to fill the rest of the pot. So I want to kind of push this stuff down. And we'll just keep filling. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of creating a little bit of a well, because we have these drainage discs that need to fit inside, and you kind of don't want there to be, if you fill this centerpiece all the way to the top, it's going to sit like this, and it's going to have a really hard time getting all of those discs in there and then getting these stacked. So I usually just create like this little well, just barely. So I fill all these up. Kind of push everything to the edge right there so it's nice and full. There we go. And then just kind of create the well. Kind of overdid this one a little bit. And just make sure it sets. Yep. I just need one more scoop for this one. The next step is we're going to set up the base. This is what's called the spinner base. So wonderful. I absolutely love this base. I did have the mover bases for a long time, and they're okay. They do move, and you can rotate them by, moving the whole device. Where this, you can put wheels on it, like what I'm going to do, so that I can wheel it into the patio or to the shed whenever we get like a cold snap, or if a hurricane's coming through, they'll move. But it doesn't rotate as easy on the mover base as the spinner base. So if I'm just rotating it to get it sunlight, the mover base is it required 2 hands, and it was more effort. This is like super simple. And I don't think, I'd have to go back and look, but I don't think that there's like a big price difference between these two. I would definitely, if there is a price difference, splurge and get the spinner base. It's so much better. So you just kind of pop the wheels in. Every other one is a locking wheel and one is a non-locking wheel. So you just do every other one. And you absolutely don't have to do the wheels. They do have options to do it without wheels, but like I said, we get hurricanes. We just got a frost, these are all reasons why I like to move it into my shed when these situations happen. And this is the best way to do it. Okay, let's see if they're locked. Yeah, they're locked. Let me unlock them. All right, and now let's put the drain tube in. This is where the water is going to pour out if you put too much water. Easy peasy, and it spins. It's so easy. All right, I'm gonna lock it in place. Actually, I don't know why I just unlocked it, but I'm gonna lock the wheels in place so that they don't move while I'm filling it up. Let's stack them. You probably noticed that I haven't watered these or added the plants to them. And that's because these things get so super heavy when you put water in them. So I actually do that after I put them together. The other thing you're probably noticing is I only did 4 tiers instead of the 5 that comes with it. This thing is already pretty tall with the 4 tiers on it, and I'm very short. And lifting the next tier up and over my head would be uncomfortable. All right, you can definitely use all 5. If you're taller than me, maybe it doesn't bother you to lift it up over your head. You can absolutely use all 5. I just find 4 for the height challenge that I have, as well as I feel like it's already like a little bit wobbly, and I've clicked them into place and everything. This has been an ongoing thing for me. It's just wobbly. I don't know why. But when I put 5, I feel like it's more wobbly. When I do 4, plus wobbly. Now you might think, well, now you're wasting because you have one of these tiers that are just not doing anything for you. Well, usually what I do is I bought multiple of these. So if you buy, let's say 2, you're gonna have 2 extra tiers. If you buy 3, you're gonna have 3 extra tiers. If you buy the leaf, which I'm gonna show you in a minute, that's the next one we're gonna fill, that comes with 7 tiers. I only fill 5. So a lot of times what I did was I bought 2 of these and a leaf. And then what I end up doing is I put the 2 extra tiers from this one, the 5th ones that I didn't use on the 2 that I bought on the bottom. And then on the 2 from the leaf that I'm not using, I put those on top. You can interchange them or intermingle them. The original and the leaf can be stacked together. It's no problem. But yeah, that's usually what I do. And then I just buy an extra basin, I water in basin, and I have a whole nother GreenStalk. All right, this one is done. All we have left to do here is plant our plants and water it, which we will do. But let's put together the other one. So after we filled up both of the tiers and stacked them up, I took a little break and headed over to the big box store to grab some plant starts to show you how I transplant them. I do have some smaller transplants that I can show you that we will transplant as well, but I want to get some bigger plants. A lot of these are perennials, except for the basil. I just really like the basil, but a lot of these are perennials. So I don't mind spending a little bit on, you know, these kind of starts, even though they're rather expensive at $5 a start, but I don't mind if I'm going to have them for years. It's worth it in that case. But things like annuals, like this purple basil, probably would have been better if I started them from seeds. But yeah, I was in a fury to buy as many as I could find. So now I'm going to show you how to transplant these. I'm going to start here down at the bottom, and I'm going to scoop out some of the soil that we put in. Just enough to be able to fit the plant in here. Let's start with this basil right here. I'm just going to work it around to where it's kind of at an angle and points outward. And then I'm going to add some of that soil back. Then we're going to stick the plant tag and move on to the next one. I'm probably going to do the purple basil in this spot. I'm packing it down a little bit as I put the soil in there just to make nice, good soil contact. All right, so the plan here is I'm going to keep putting them in, but I'm only going to do this side because what my goal is these are going to grow on the sunny side, while back here I'm going to put seedlings, and they don't necessarily need light to germinate, so they're going to be on the back side while these guys kind of get established. And once the ones on the back start germinating, I'm going to turn this around and put those plants on the back to give these guys several days in their first days of life to get sun. These guys over here can handle going several days without any sun and sitting on the back there, while the seedlings that are going to pop out here really need sun those first couple days. And then I'll move on to rotating them a quarter of a turn to a half of a turn every single day. So let's get the rest of these guys in here. For the rest of these, I'm going to do seeds, and I'm going to do Blue Lake bush beans. Oh, it's not just Blue Lake. I mixed a bunch of seeds in here, a bunch of different kinds. So hopefully there's a lot of Blue Lake, but I don't know what some of these other ones are. So I'm going to do 2 per pod here, or 2 per pocket. They say you can do 3, but I've done 3 and I feel like the plants suffered, so I just do 2 now. Okay, now that we got that one done, we're gonna seed this one, and I'm gonna do petunias in the top, and then I'm gonna do petunias here, lettuce here. I don't know what else. Let's see. So I'm doing 2 petunias, Greeting from Jerome, and Super Bisma Cosmic Cherry. And these are actually going to be seeded right on top, so I'm just going to rough up the soil a little bit. These need light to germinate, so I will be rotating this one, as well as they need a lot of moisture. So we're going to miss these. These seeds are so super tiny. You don't actually bury these. Oh, they even have them. They're so tiny, they put them in a little package inside of a little package. Look how tiny those things are. Right, I'm going to try my best to divide them up amongst these 3 pockets. So I'm just going to tap, 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 see if I can get some to fall out. Yep. All right, and then the last one. And they are so tiny, I have no idea where they went. Like, I'm not even sure they made it into all 3 pockets. That's how tiny these seeds are. They're like little pieces of dust. All right, so I know I've got them in those 3, and then I have these 3 to do this other set. I suspect we're gonna be, yep, another plastic. I need to get them away from the corner. There we go. Yeah, that was a better way to do this. Okay, so now I'm gonna they're kind of like sticking to the plastic. I'm not really sure any are even falling out, to be honest with you. Oh, there we go. Okay, those are hard to get out. Let's see if I can, here we go. Now we're getting somewhere. And the next pocket, I'm gonna do 1 seed of the Salanova lettuce, and I'm gonna try to mix up colors. So I've got green and red incised. So I'm gonna do every other pocket green, every other pocket red. I love the color combination. Hopefully it turns out the way I'm thinking it will. I've got the green in my hand. I'm gonna start in this pocket, and you just drop it ever so slightly. Here, there we go. These are the red. Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna drop 1, press, drop 1. Kind of scoot that one a little deep, that's okay. There we go. And I think this is the last one, right? Oh, it's so hard to tell. Okay. There, yeah, there's a seed in there. Okay, so green in this hand, red in this hand. Let me see if I can put these back. Oh, oops, lost some. These are expensive seeds too, so I hate losing any. All right, let me get these guys back in there. There we go. Now the next here, we're gonna do the green crisp and the red crisp. So we're gonna do the same thing, but instead of the insides, we're gonna do the crisp variety. And I'm probably not gonna do it the way I just did it. I think I'm gonna do every other one, so I'm not like juggling seeds. That wasn't my smartest moment. Okay, so I'm gonna stick one right there. I'm gonna skip a pocket. I'm gonna stick one right there. I'm not covering up yet. Skip a pocket. I'm gonna set one right here and skip a pocket. Now I'm back to that one. Okay, that's the better way to do it for sure. I don't know what I was thinking, trying to juggle 2 sets of seeds in 2 hands. That was a recipe for disaster. But okay, so we're gonna go here. Skip one, go here, skip one, go here. I'm gonna cover these up just ever so slightly, like not hardly anything. That much. That's it, I did that. That's it. These are super tiny seeds. They look bigger because they're pelletized, but they're actually really, really tiny seeds. Into the last bottom 2 tiers I have here, I have a bunch of little seedlings here that I'm going to pick from. These are tiny guys. Look how small. I'm gonna transplant those small of seedlings. They've got like 2 leaves. It's good enough. Probably usually wait for them to get a little bit bigger, but I'm ready to put something in here. So I'm just gonna pop them out using my seed, my Epic Garden seed trays. They're exceptional. Can't even stop talking about them. I love them so much. So I'm gonna put my little seedling right there. Just barely, just barely. All right. I have one more of this one that worked out. You got to be really, really gentle when they're this young. I'm basically pouring them out into my hand and then just barely laying them in there. All right, the next ones we're gonna do, excuse me, Belle, is the ruby red leaf lettuce. These are a little bit bigger, have a little bit more age to them, so they come out a little bit whole. So let's put that guy in there. Add a tilt, just like we did the other transplants. label. There we go. And I have a tiny bit of space, one more. What do I want to put in here? We're just going to throw a regular lettuce. And I think the whole bottom tier is just going to be regular lettuce. And by regular, I mean Salanova, because that's pretty much all I grow now. There's a few that I try every year, but I mean, when you find a lettuce that just works perfectly for you and just doesn't give you a lot of crap, you just have to go for it. You just grow nothing but that. And they have so many different flavors. They've got like butter, they've got like, you know, more of like a romaine. They have one that's like the mesclun type looking kind. It's really cool, the different varieties they have, and they are just so good. They're just so easy to grow. And watch, these little tiny babies that you would think couldn't be transplanted, they're gonna do just fine. I've transplanted them this young before, and they've been fine. I'm telling you, this lettuce, this Salanova lettuce from Johnny Seed is basically bomb. The last step we're going to do is we're going to mist all of these pockets with water. We're going to fill the top up with water, and I'm going to keep them watered every 2 or 3 days until they sprout. Once they sprout, I'll fill just the top reservoir with water, and they're off to the races. I hope you guys had fun hanging out with me today. We did get 2 complete gardens, completely planted with transplants and seedlings, all in less than a day. It's only been a couple hours. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this gave you some inspiration to get out there and get your garden started. Happy gardening, guys.